This is a good question because, like, as most of us know, the US military is probably unmatched in the world. However, like, if it was a full-scale invasion, multiple countries have teamed up and they are trying to take America. It's not as easy as, like, because the Navy has all these aircraft carriers, but they're stationed around the world, right? It will take a while for them to get back, bring everybody, back to land. And, it just would be trickier, I think, to like, and if it's multiple countries with large armies maybe it's, let's say, Russia, China, Iran, potentially, if they all teamed up, North Korea, like, could America defend itself against all those countries? And I'm guessing in this scenario, America's allies would not, like, maybe aren't coming to their aid. If this happened in real life, for sure, the UK and NATO would be coming to America's aid, for sure. But I'm guessing in this scenario, it's going to be America fighting, by itself. What would happen in that situation?
America survive a full-scale invasion. In 250 years, no army has ever conquered the United States. Not one. The British tried, but failed. Japan bombed Hawaii and lost an empire. Every superpower since has looked at the map and realized the same thing. Invading America isn't war, it's suicide. But here's the question nobody ever asks. What if it actually happened? What if everything collapsed and America had to survive on its own? Could the US survive a full-scale invasion? Not on screens, but in reality. And what would that war actually look like? It almost never happens, but it has. The British did it in 1814. They burned Washington, D.C., the White House, the Capitol. The president ran. That's the only time in history a foreign army held the U.S. Capitol. Later, in 1916, Pancho Villa's men raided New Mexico, killed Americans, then vanished back across the border. Lastly, in 1942, Japan took two small frozen islands in Alaska. When the U.S. finally retook them, the terrain killed almost as many men as the enemy did. And that's it. No one has ever conquered the mainland. Because America is a nightmare to invade. Look at the map. Two oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific. They're not just water.
Wow, the Pacific Ocean is huge. Looks like it's twice as big as the Atlantic.
They're walls. The Pacific alone is 5,000 miles wide, a moving wall of storms, currents, and emptiness. Even superpowers choke on that distance. That's why Hitler never tried. That's why Japan only hit Hawaii. It's too far, too hard, too costly.
Yeah, America would just see it coming. They'd see it coming from thousands of miles away. Like, it would be so obvious.
During World War II, when the US tried the reverse, invading across the Pacific, it took 3 years, tens of thousands of ships, and entire floating cities of fuel. That's how impossible a trans-ocean invasion really is. Even modern militaries know the math. A single carrier group burns millions of gallons of fuel per week. Crossing 5,000 miles means weeks of exposure to satellites and subs. But say someone somehow made it. Beyond those oceans waits a land built like a fortress, not by generals, but by geology.
Yeah, like the mountain, like the West Coast would be pretty tricky. All of the mountain regions and stuff you'd have to get through.
Imagine an enemy fleet finally reaching the Pacific Northwest. They'd expect beaches, but they'd find cliffs. The Olympic Peninsula rises almost straight out of the ocean. No flat land, no easy landing zones. Storms slam the coast like artillery. Rain never stops. Some places get 12 feet a year. That's not weather, that's war. The coastline itself fights back. Sharp rock, hidden coves, shifting sandbars. That's why sailors called it the graveyard of the Pacific. Over 2,000 ships have vanished here, nearly one for every 3 miles of shore. Even today, the Columbia River Bar is so dangerous that pilots need a special license to cross it, and they still lose ships. One wrong swell, one gust too strong, gone. Behind that chaos lies another barrier, the coastal range. It's not tall, but it's close enough to the sea to trap clouds and crush dreams. Even the lighthouses, built to outlast centuries, have had to be rebuilt inland as the ocean eats the shore.
So it's very, very tricky terrain. Like you would need to navigate through this area. It sounds like you would need to have really strong innate knowledge of that region, which other countries probably do not have, unless maybe they were previously allies. So it depends on who this enemy is, right? If it's a hostile country, they probably wouldn't have sufficient information to navigate this and make it deeper into the mainland. But if if it's a country maybe that is within NATO, it's a different story. But that would never happen. Like a NATO country would never try and invade America.
So before invaders ever see a city, they'd be fighting rain, mud, and gravity. And beyond that, they'd meet a land that punishes armies long after the storm ends.
Because there has to be a path, like, I'm sure the US military knows this, but there has to be at least one path that has the least resistance deeper into the mainland. But that would probably be kept quite a secret.
Suppose they somehow land. Now comes the real enemy, the continent itself. Deserts, mountains, swamps, snow. Every mile different, every region hostile. The Rockies slice the West in half. The Mississippi floods its plains. The Appalachians twist the east into endless ridges. Each barrier splits armies and burns fuel. Even US convoys need weeks to cross in peace. In war, it'd be hopeless. The Great Plains look flat, but they're open exposure, nowhere to hide from drones or jets. The deserts kill engines with heat. The winters break them with ice. Nature doesn't just slow invaders, it starves them. No refuel points, no factories, no friendly locals. Every state line becomes another front, and that's before you count the 330 million people already living here, most of them armed.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. Like, all of those people with guns and ammunition, it would not be easy to pacify and stop that. It wouldn't be easy at all.
Here's something no invader wants to hear. America has more guns than people. 390 million firearms, 120 for every 100 citizens. That's not an army. That's 50 million potential militias. From Maine to Montana, from Texas to Alaska, every home could be a stronghold. There are 15 million licensed hunters, more than most nations' militaries. That's why the Japanese Admiral Yamamoto supposedly said, "We could never invade America. Behind every blade of grass is a gun." Even if the US military fell back, the population wouldn't. They know their terrain. They stock ammo like winter food. It would become the largest guerrilla war in human history. Afghanistan bled superpowers dry with a few 100,000 rifles. America would fight with hundreds of millions. But even getting close enough to test that is almost impossible, because the sky sees everything.
Yeah, this is the thing. The Air Force would just see it coming. And I think America has the most warplanes of any country. There would just be aerial bombardment. It's like, just like dropping bombs constantly.
An invasion needs secrecy, but secrecy died decades ago. Satellites track every ship, every plane, every thermal signature. Drones hover for days. Radar blankets both oceans. In 1991, US satellites spotted tanks hiding under sand. Today, they can read license plates from orbit. A fleet crossing the Pacific would be a glowing trail of metal, detected weeks before launch. And when spotted, it would be met by carriers, submarines, and bombers long before reaching Hawaii. You can't sneak an invasion across a planet covered in sensors. So instead of sneaking, enemies look for a shortcut to break America from within before anyone lands. If anyone ever hopes to invade, they'll start digitally. Cyber attacks, kill the grid, crash the stock market, scramble GPS and air traffic systems. One EMP blast and cars stall, planes drop, power dies. Suddenly, 21st century America turns 19th. Then comes disinformation, fake news, fake outrage, fake enemies. Turn neighbors into rivals. Distract the country while you move your pieces. That's the new invasion plan. Because dividing 330 million minds is easier than crossing 5,000 miles of ocean. And if that fails, the only cards left are doomsday ones. Weapons meant to end everything, not win anything.
But the thing is, how, I suppose if an enemy plane got went above the US and, somehow avoided American planes trying to like stop it and drop nukes, I suppose that probably could happen. But I'm sure they would be spotted coming, and America, the Air Force, would send planes to, take them out.
Bioweapons, viruses, anthrax, plague, fire that erases cities in minutes. But conquer what after that? A wasteland? Even using them is suicide. America's second strike arsenal guarantees mutual extinction. If the mainland burns, the attacker burns with it. So instead, enemies posture, threats, missiles, parades. None of it crosses those oceans, because they know what waits. The largest, most battle-tested military in history, backed by land that kills invaders faster than soldiers can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, it's got to be the only, I'm not saying that this will happen, but the only country that would even dare to do it is probably China. But they just wouldn't. I don't think it's not in their interest. There's just too much trade between them. There's, posturing going on and stuff, but there would just be nothing to gain from it. There would be nothing to gain. And I don't think China could even do it. I mean, I know they've probably got a lot of weapons and stuff and technology that they haven't shown the world, but more than America, I doubt it.
Russia? They can't even hold Ukraine. China? Huge army, but no combat since 1979. Meanwhile, America has fought for a century, from Europe to the Pacific, from deserts to jungles. Every war refined logistics, tech, and command. The Navy sails 11 carriers. The rest of the world combined has half that.
Wow.
The Air Force can strike anywhere on Earth in hours. Every U.S. state has a National Guard unit that knows every bridge, every back road. Even if someone landed troops, reinforcements would fly in from Guam, Japan, Germany, within a day. Borders? Allies. Oceans? Shields. People? Armed. Tech? Watching. That's why no one tries. Because the only thing that could ever conquer America is America itself. Division, hatred, civil war. Lincoln warned it. If destruction be our lot, we must be its author and finisher. If America ever falls, it won't be to tanks or ships. It'll be to arguments, algorithms, and echo chambers. So, could a foreign power even invade the U.S.?
Very true.
They could try, but it would be the bloodiest gamble in history. Oceans would swallow fleets. Airstrikes would torch convoys. Civilians would fight in the streets. Maybe a city burns. Maybe a port falls. But conquer the whole country? Never. Because the oceans defend it. The land protects it. The people arm it. And the technology guards it. The only invasion that could ever work is the one that starts within.
Great video. Yeah, as I thought, it's just unlikely. Like, it would take the next 10 countries, the next 10 largest militaries in terms of budget, and if they all teamed up. But the thing is, at least 4 or 5 of those are in NATO, so it would never ever happen. It would never happen. That's probably what it would take. It would take the next 10 countries teaming up, planning, and they would need to be prepared to take extremely heavy losses. But even then, it probably wouldn't even be enough. It probably would not be enough. Like, let's see here. So let's find top 20 military budgets in the world. So let's see here. Just give it to me as a list. Here we go. So America spends almost $1 trillion. Then you've got China. So that's 300 mil. I'm going to add this up. So that's 470, let's say. That's 550 in total so far. 630, 710, 790, 850, 850, 910, 960, a trillion. So it literally takes the next 10 countries just to match what the US spends on its military, just to match it. But then, as you say, like NATO country, it just would not, it would not happen. Those countries would never, ever do it. Not to say any of these countries would, but it just would never, ever, ever happen. Very, very, very interesting video. And it's always good to run these kind of scenarios, like just in case, because you never know what can happen. You never know, especially in this day and age where things are increasingly volatile worldwide. You've got conflicts all over the place, and it's scary. But I don't see any country ever, unless America weakened itself to a point from, like he said, civil conflicts, political divides becoming extremely volatile against each other. Like if it was to weaken itself, then an enemy country might try and pounce on that, but they still got to deal with the geography and everything else. So it would never happen. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check out the video I'm going to link right below this one. See you there.